the more I travel to what we might call third world countries, the more I realize that they are the countries that will become the first world countries because they have more freedom than what we have in Europe. And that's one of the reasons, it's the biggest reason why I am considering leaving Europe. It's because of the freedom. And you might think that we in Europe are quite free, but the more you start looking at history, it's the way that you're seeing that there's actually less freedom than yesterday and less than the day before and less than the day before. And we can see that with taxes. I'm very anarchist from this point of view. I was born in 1985. And in that year, it was the first year that in Spain, they invented the VAT, the added value tax, meaning that if the country has been succeeding and being able to provide all the services until then, why now do we have to pay?
It's happening in all countries of the West. Like approximately at the same time, it was common, I would say, development for governments to keep.
And if you keep digging, people will say, of course, but now we have more services. Yes, now people live longer, there is longer life expectancy, and those are services that are provided by the governments, which are normally who pay you for the social security and who offer you, in theory, the best food because they try to help to grow the best crops and all that.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Age of Reinvention, eco-living, expats, and intentional communities. I am your host, Emily Bron, and this podcast is all about embracing change, reinventing your life abroad, finding the matching living community, and creating a future that is deeply aligned with your values. Whether you dream of eco-friendly living, exploring expat life, or building intentional communities, this is your space to get inspired, informed, and empowered. Let me ask, have you ever felt like your current environment doesn't quite fit who you become or want to be? You may be craving a stronger connection to nature or to people who truly understand you, or a lifestyle that prioritizes purpose over routine. Today's episode dives deep into those possibilities and more. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Jordi Llonch Esteve. Jordi is a visionary in intentional living, community building, and purpose-driven relocation. Together, we will explore how relocation and finding a matching community can spark personal growth, solve disconnection, and align with your values. Practical steps of searching and creating intentional living spaces and thriving communities, the mindset shift that make reinvention not only possible, but exciting. So settle in, grab a mug of tea or coffee, and join us for conversation about taking bold steps toward your life you want to live. This episode is packed with stories, wisdom, and actionable insights. It's one you don't want to miss. Hello, Jordi. I'm happy to welcome you in the Age of Reinvention studio.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here with you.
And I'm looking forward myself to learn from you, from your latest and previous traveling, because you're living a pretty non-standard life, I would say. And we know, many people dream of moving abroad, yet they face barriers such as high costs, bureaucratic hurdles, and fear of change. I know that you're also considering relocation abroad. Why do you think solving these problems is so important now? What are at stakes in 2025?
Since the men on the cavern nomads, right? So we started in a place, and then when the food or the shelter were not available, we had to find another place. Then we mastered agriculture, and we were capable of settling in, which is the way that we have been moving in lately to the cities. And now we are just get born in a city or a town, and we take it for granted. We have forgotten about this ability that we humans possess, which is go wherever we feel like it. So lately, there has been like some discontent, I have realized, about people with their nations, their governments, their rulers. So people started thinking again about why don't we just find another place to go? And why is now important? It's because now globalization makes it very easy to relocate. Although there is something that is limiting, which is the strength of your passport. I am European, my passport is accepted, or I am welcomed through my passport almost anywhere in the world. But there are other people that have the luck of just being born somewhere with a weaker passport. So on one hand, it is so easy now for some of us to move because some of us might not be content with what we have, but it is still a burden to some others. And answer to your question is like, why is now, or why is it important now, or why is people thinking about that? Because there is a lot of tension going on between like social, economic, political regions in the world. And it's easier than ever to take a plane or drive with a car and leave from wherever you were born to another place. Because now we can do that. It is easier than ever.
Look, technically it's easier. You are pilot by education, yes, and by your former experience. So you visited many countries and many places before. You are owner of European passport. You live in Barcelona, Spain. And why you are considering relocation?
As you're saying, as a pilot, this gave me the courage, the easiness of discovering that flying from one place to another is easy. Because normally people do not used to travel as much as I did. So making a trip consisted of a set of burdens and issues that you would have to do. So that's why most people do not travel as often as we pilots do. And why am I considering to relocate to other places is because I am not content with what the European Union is doing in Europe, in all the countries in Europe. And the more I travel to what we might call third world countries, the more I realize that they are the countries that will become the first world countries because they have more freedom than what we have in Europe. And that's one of the reasons, one of them, actually, it's the biggest reason why I am considering leaving Europe. It's because of the freedom. And you might think that we in Europe are quite free, but the more you start looking at history, it's the way that you're seeing that there's actually less freedom than yesterday and less than the day before and less than the day before. And we can see that with taxes. I'm very anarchist from this point of view. I was born in 1985, and in that year, it was the first year that in Spain, they invented the VAT, the added value tax, meaning that if the country has been succeeding and being able to provide all the services until then, why now do we have to pay? And I'm just giving you this example.
It's happening in all countries of the West. like approximately at the same time, it was common, I would say, development for
Yeah.
government.
And if you keep digging, people will say, of course, but now we have more services. Yes, now people live longer. There is longer life expectancy. And those are services that are provided by the governments, which are normally who pay you for the social security and who offer you, in theory, the best food because they try to help to grow the best crops and all that, which in the end, you start making the numbers and that, yes, the services have increased, but the cost of those services have not increased as much because of the increase of the productivity. So what is that governments, like what we call now the first world countries, their governments are increasing in size. And in Spain, we just crossed a mark that I would like to share with you and your audience, is that I think it was last week that we have now more public servants, meaning people that work for the state, than entrepreneurs. And understanding the entrepreneur, the little mom and pop shop, or like this single person or a small association of 4 or 5 people that run this small project or company. I'm not talking about big corporations. So the number of public servants has increased the number of the producing class. And that would be like a struggle for the entrepreneur. So that's why when you start making or looking into the numbers, you realize that the way that we are paying for all these services, the public servants, the roads, the health, the medicine, everything you were saying as well, is by printing new money. And this is credit. So because of that, I don't like to contribute to this type of society or of organization. I'm happy with my society. I'm happy with my people. But if we keep doing the same, there will be one day that we will not be able to pay for all these services. Now we are paying with credit. So I know that now with all the taxes I'm paying, I'm not capable of maintaining the rest of this government. So I know that now the government is printing this extra money that one day maybe my kids or my grandkids will have to pay. But now
it will be sooner. Look at Canada, but we will not go to particular country. It's actually the trend, I would say. And I never liked, by the way, third world countries as a definition. Today it sounds like even sarcasm for me because I was traveling and I was looking at these countries, mostly in Latin America. Yes, they live differently, but they structure yet differently. And I understand from perspective of freedom, which I completely share with you, many people, especially entrepreneurial type and young professionals, are interested to the places which are giving them more opportunities to reinvent their life, to create whatever they want, or actually to live freely without government intrusion in family life, in business. It's what happened.
I agree that there has to be some ruling class in order to enforce the law that we all agreed upon. If I'm not happy with a law, I'm free to make my bags and pack my bags and fly to another country I'm happy with. So there will always need to be like a set of rules that we all agree upon. But at the moment, there is this moment where you make all the systems so complex that then you see that there is no logic on the things.
They're just subsidizing themselves. They're not interested in developing countries, but just to creating this monstrous government apparatus, which works by itself.
Exactly that.
I observed it in many different countries, and I knew it about Spain, but you just added some particular details as a person living like from inside.
Yes.
And I know you visited many places and communities worldwide, specifically lately. What is the place or community experience that profoundly impacted you or changed how you see or perceive the world outside of Spain? Like it reshaped maybe how you think, your idea of belonging. Where did you feel that it might be place that you belong? What country and particular community?
So I've been doing this tour in Latin America, and out of all the places, I've been in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, I've been in Sao Paulo in Brazil, I've been in El Salvador, in many cities in El Salvador, like El Zonte, which is Bitcoin Beach, or San Salvador, or I was recently in Costa Rica, in this small village in the jungle that is called Ubita. And it's a 4-hour drive, I think, from the capital. So it's very separated from the city. And it was a place, it reminded me like a utopian place. There is like this circular economy. Of course, there is government intervention, but you can't feel it as much as in other countries. The first reason is because it's in the middle of the jungle. So there are no reasons for the government to be taking care of what happens under every coconut tree. It's impossible. It's not like in a major city that you can just put cameras everywhere. Like in my trip to South Korea, where every street had 3 or 4 cameras pointing at me from different angles. So I can see like the difference from like the over control to do whatever you want. And I felt like this was a free market society. It was the most dense, and it was a Bitcoin-led community, meaning that every merchant in the street accepted Bitcoin to make any type of transactions, meaning they don't even use the local currency. They don't have to. They don't care.
First of all, what I hear, they have good internet, and I commend Costa Rica for having, by the way, I remember being in Costa Rica on the island. I've had better internet than in Toronto sometimes because you need to be able to provide all the services, and local government not intervening in the life. And it's not the only community. I know there are many communities of different kind built. Yes. And again, please repeat the name of this community.
The community, the city itself is called Ubita, Uvita, Ubita. And it's a grassroots movement. So there is no government promoting Bitcoin or anything. No, it was just a couple of Bitcoiners that came from different parts of the world that said to the locals, we have this. Would you take it? If we buy a coconut or if we buy a pineapple, would you accept this Bitcoin if we buy a slice of bread in your bakery? And the locals saw the benefit of it without any reinforcement or law by the government. It's different to El Salvador, where El Salvador government obligated the people to accept it. No, here it was a grassroots movement. And there was like this innocent person that arrived with his first Bitcoin and said, would you take it? And then the locals started accepting it. And by the way, Bitcoin is the only coin that is accepted there. It's a community that is 100% looking for freedom. So if the audience has never heard of the term Bitcoin, to associate Bitcoin with other crypto things, Bitcoin is no crypto thing. It's not cryptocurrency. It's not crypto asset. Bitcoin is
golden standard, as they say.
Some people call it gold 2.0 because it's like gold, but on another layer, on a second layer, which, as you say, it's like we need electricity and we need good internet. Ubita, everybody, when you go in the streets, you'll see a lot of those antennas from Elon Musk's Starlink. So everybody has internet, like high quality internet and good electricity. Those are the 2 things that you need to run on Bitcoin. Even a local merchant in the street selling bottles of water or selling watermelons that they just harvested from their own maybe small backyard, they all accept Bitcoin, which is, to me, was like amazing. Everybody had a QR code.
Yeah, so everyone has a phone, like cell phone, because practically how they transact via the cell phone, like on the market, it's hard to imagine for me.
The only thing you need is, imagine you are selling me like this watermelon. You just need to show me your phone with a QR code. And then with my camera, I would scan that QR code and I would say send, and you would receive the money immediately. The difference with other crypto things or with regular currency in Ubita, in Costa Rica, they use the colon, but anybody listening to us can think of their local currency, if it's the euro, if it's the Canadian dollar, whatever they have. When you pay something, it doesn't go from the buyer to the merchant directly. If I pay you, even if I pay you in cash, that paper bill, it's not money. That paper bill, it says that it's a credit note that once I give it to you, then you can go and redeem it in the central bank of your country for what they promise you. In this case, what they promise you is that your government will stay alive, but it's not from point to point. If I pay you with a bank transfer, or if I send you a PayPal, or if I send you, what else can I do? Venmo, all of those payment services never go from me to you. From the bank.
Third party that get a percentage from this.
And sometimes we think that there is a third party, but when you look at the ramifications and all the flow that it makes, maybe it touches 5 or 6 organizations before you get the money. And again, I'm using the term money so people understand us, but everybody that's listening to us should understand that the word money, the meaning of money changed once we separated the gold standard in the 1961 when Nixon created this shock, and then we depact from money. So people like governments are very smart. They keep using the word money, so we think it's the same thing. But now we should use the correct term should be either credit or debit.
What is interesting to me is that merchant in village of Costa Rica, without any courses, some people taking about Bitcoin and all the theory, they practically understand what to do, how to do, and they see benefit of it. I'm just thinking what they do actually with this Bitcoin. They have their own account, and so they sell. So it should be already extended community of merchants who are using it and exchanging the value, correct?
No, that's what happens. I picked Ubita because it's the most dense circular economy of Bitcoin I've ever been to. Let me give you some numbers. Ubita is a small town lost in the middle of the jungle. There are 400 merchants accepting Bitcoin. 400, it's like all the town. All town is accepting it. And when I would pay for this service that you provided me, what you would do as a merchant, you wouldn't change it. You wouldn't exchange it. You wouldn't sell it for your local currency. You would keep it as Bitcoin because you know that because the whole town accepts Bitcoin, you know that then you can use it to purchase, maybe to pay for your food or to pay for your rent or to pay for the gasoline. So there is like this circular economy. Of course, there is people that don't understand it fully. And some at the end of the day, or even at the same time when they receive the payment in Bitcoin, some of them change it to the local currency because they have some debts they have to pay back in the local currency, which is the colon. For example, there is people that has a credit for buying their car, but the credit is in colons. So they need colones to pay for that. And I was surprised on how people understood it so quickly without any special higher organization trying to educate all at the same time. There is a community, there is one non-governmental community called Bitcoin Jungle, which is run for free, and they have an office, and then if you have a small business, you can go there and they would teach you. But there is nothing official. It's just like a couple of guys that like Bitcoin, that they just open a shop and say, free entrance, anyone interested can come and answer. So this was my favorite circular economy because they are, again, I'm not saying that we should get rid of the governments. What I'm telling you with this example is that if you limit the power the government has in a community, you are allowing the community to self-organize. And if today they want to accept Bitcoin, it is. But if tomorrow they want to accept shells from the sea, let them do it. The problem with governments is that they are funded with the local currency of that government. So that's why they need all the transactions in a government, in a territory, to be held in that currency. because then for the government, it's easier to extract the value, to rob from these transactions that are happening. That's the word. And I like the word in Spanish. In Spanish, it is called impuesto. And impuesto means that it's imposed. It's like you didn't pick to pay for it. You are forced. In English?
Yeah, I know. I hope that many of people who are listening to us already heard it, or at least understand in different terms, because I believe many people opened their eyes starting from the COVID era about different aspects, living in different countries, but we've all had time to be at home and look around, and people who have brain or even who get experiences get this or other way. And now I understand that this kind of personal experiences which align with you personally also align your mission to make global transitions more accessible. And I know that you change your glamorous career as a pilot to work and to be part of Satlantis platform. And here, my question, first of all, I don't know when it's happened, but I understand that person like you, it should be just calling. It was your calling to change one professional direction to another. And speaking about online platform like Satlantis, I understand that it will help slow travelers, people who taking this lifestyle, digital nomads, and expats or future to be expats to find like-minded people in new destination. So what do you think how online platform like Satlantis will do it or already maybe do it?
Yeah, thank you. You just introduced like all the keywords that define why Satlantis was brought to life. Why did we build this? So yes, expats, digital nomads, frequent travelers, maybe we could add freedom seekers, but all of them have the same theme, which is what you said at the beginning, which is the slow travel. The digital nomad, and I want to go back to what I said at the beginning of our conversation. The digital nomad is just like when we were talking about money or gold 2.0. Digital nomad is just nomad with an adjective. It's nomad 2.0, but it's the same thing that happened thousands of years ago when we, the humanity, were nomads. And a nomad, from my point of view, is this person that is looking for places until he finds the right destination for them. At that moment is when they become a retired nomad, and maybe if it's in a different community where they started, they become an expat. So this is the journey, but during this journey, this is exhausting. You cannot be traveling every 4 months and changing.
Absolutely.
It's
You
exhausting.
need some legal kind of accommodation. You need actually accommodation to live. You need what is very important to find your people. Otherwise, you don't feel it's your place.
You need comfort. You need mental peace. And at Satlantis, what we are doing is like we are building this tool. It's a tool. You can call it a platform, but to me, it's like a tool to help these nomads to find their next destination until they realize which is their final destination. And look, Emily, we all have internet. All the information is there. And now we have Google and ChatGPT and everything. It's easy. All the information is there. The problem is that there are now too many sources of information that we feel, how to say, intoxicated, like too many information.
Yeah, no, it's more confusing because first of all, to understand what do you need, specifically when you're at the beginning of your journey, you started to search it, where my role, that's why I decided to make the starting point for people more clear, because there is different direction for different kind of people. So
yes,
what do you do in this?
People need help sometimes because starting alone, and I'm telling you this from my own experience. When I was a pilot, I started on my own. I landed a job, pun intended, in another country. I knew nothing about this country. I even didn't know the language. I barely spoke English at the time. I had no family, no friends, anything there. So I was just there going as an explorer, with all the fear that an explorer might have. You have to be brave to discover a new place, but if you're not brave, the fear will consume you. And now finding all this information, it's available, but it's so difficult. So what we're trying to do with Satlantis is to organize it all into one single place, following the same structure. So you can compare one destination to another one using the same topic, the same criteria. And again, we didn't invent anything new here. Probably some of the audience that is listening, maybe they know about this. It's a database with hundreds of cities all over the world that are organized by the same criteria. And so we picked up on that idea. And the problem with databases is that they become like bulletin boards. They become like Web 1.0. You can read, but you cannot interact with it. So once you have a lot of information, it's difficult to get it used to make it useful to you. So what we've made is we have like this service, which is a static database of what do you need in a city, cost of living, how good the internet is, what is the best taxi provider, what electricity outlet do you use. Those are things that all travelers should look into before they pick their next destination. But sometimes they are overwhelmed with so many information that they forget one of them. And then they arrive there at the destination and it's, oh, fuck, my electric shaver doesn't work because I don't have the correct electricity converter or whatever. So what we did is like, we started organizing all the cities with the typical needs of a frequent traveler. Yes. And then we added we created like an ecosystem of services around the city. And this is like, for me, what makes us different to any other tools like Nomadlist or other databases of information in cities, is that we added like a social layer. When you go to a place, it's good to have a directory. And remember, before the internet, and you and I are the people that used to travel without internet. We bought these booklets, like these lonely travel and different maps, but the information there was static. So when you travel to a new place, you don't only are interested in the place, you're interested in the people that live in that place, because we are humans and we like human connection. Maybe there's people that with one friend is enough, another one would need 100 friends, whatever, but we need connection. So what we built in Satlantis is a series of social sections that allow you to find like-minded people. We are offering a map, for example, like Google Maps, but the problem with Google Maps today, and again, for all the people listening that are not used to Google Maps, imagine Google Maps, TripAdvisor, Via Michelin. Depending on the country you are, you probably have one of the popular map services that help you find places. But the problem with those services is that they are centralized and they are showing sometimes, or most of the times, information that is not relevant to you. Let me give you an example. When you're looking for a restaurant, let's say that you are vegetarian and I am carnivore. We both open Google Maps and we find a restaurant it has 4.9 stars on Google Maps. But remember, you're vegetarian and I'm carnivore. And that restaurant sells steaks. You will see 4.9 stars as well. Why would you have to trust this 4.9 if you are vegetarian? You shouldn't be seeing the same reviews as me because we have different tastes. And another example.
You can specify in your search vegetarian restaurants. Or
you can, but the reviews are the reviews from everybody, not from, because when you write a review, it doesn't ask you, are you vegetarian or it doesn't ask you all these things. And
so you go deeper in search if a person is interested, and you provide customized information.
Yes, we use what we call the social graph. And this is a term that we brought from the underlying technology that we are using, which is Nostr, that we can get into detail later, which allows us to show you what is relevant to you. It's like a graph of all your social interactions. So if you and I are friends because we share the same interests, I will see your reviews first on that restaurant. If you and I do not share our interest, I will not see your reviews and you will not see my reviews. So it's a way of showing you. It's like going back to the tribes, to the original tribe, like these nomad communities that were like very small tribes.
I noticed that you like this ancient tribes model. A lot of things to learn from them, from farmers and gathering. I believe we have sometimes different needs Even some people want us to have our own garden and live sustainable communities. By the way, it's one of the models. But speaking about Satlantis, for example, I became member of your platform 2 weeks ago. I created my profile. I was curious. Actually, I'm a tester by nature and by profession, quality assurance. I identified my interest and cities. I selected couples that I'm interested to visit or I'm really care about. And I shared the welcome post. I didn't get any engagement. What should be my next steps?
So as a social network, the value of the social network increases as the number of users increase. This is like the typical chicken and egg problem. What is first, like your post or the people that will see your post? So the value that I think that would be more interesting to you is to start generating this content until you discover what triggers the people. For example, let me tell you what I post. And you will say, really this? I post sometimes sunset pictures or pictures of the moon, and I say good night, and I get likes. Okay, and you say, what type of value are you adding to this? This is what my people, my followers are liking. I would say, I would suggest that anybody, like you are the first beta tester here in this video conference, I would say that try to post something different. Instead of, hello, good morning, everyone, or I don't know, try to add something that adds value to your community.
I was very practical. I was saying who I am, that I'm planning my trip to Buenos Aires, and I put it in Buenos Aires group, and I'm looking for connections. And it's not that I was expecting immediately everyone, but it was quiet time, and I didn't understand.
The thing is, Emily, when you create a new account and you post something, nobody knows you. So it's the same in Twitter. Remember the first day you opened your Twitter account and started posting? It's not that immediately you will get likes and comments. It's like you have to build your reputation. If you only post one post or two, or only if you post one a week, and people don't know if you will be there, like doing this as being your routine. So it's like building up. Imagine any other social network. We are inspired by Facebook and Instagram, the way they started, not the way they became now, because now Facebook and Instagram, they are not social networks. They are social media companies, which is different. They started with the goal of connecting people, and now they are attention seekers to put in front of your eyes as much information as possible. So we were inspired by the first social network idea. The problem with social networks, and this is why they became social media, is that it's more beneficial for them, for the stakeholders, to become social media platforms. It's like, I give you the content that gives you this dopamine, so you can like and see more content and get drained and get lost. It's like a spiral that you don't realize it. I think 1 hour here.
You can ensure that your platform will not be the same.
You cannot say, you cannot know. And we are using a protocol, we're using this type of technology that forces us to be better. This technology allows that, imagine if you would be able to bring all your followers, to continue with this example. Imagine you are, let me say it again, imagine you have make all this effort to build your Instagram follower list, and now you would like to start a Twitter from scratch. You would have to probably start copy pasting the same content that worked very well on Instagram and then on Twitter, but Instagram is a different type of format, so you would have to adapt it. You would have to put some hours to create or to build a new audience, which probably some of them will be the same users that are following you on Instagram, but with their other account that they have on Twitter. The technology that Satlantis is using, it's called Nostr, and it allows to bring your followers you build in one of those tools, in Instagram, to Twitter. Let me put it with different words so the audience understands it correctly. It's not that now through Satlantis you can export all your followers from Instagram and put them on Twitter. No, I'm telling that imagine if all these platforms would be interoperable and interconnected, and you could do that. we are using technology that is called Nostr, that is like a base layer that allows us to do that. You asked me, Emily, how do we know that Satlantis will not become a social media company? Because everything you do on Satlantis can be replicated in our competitors. Our competitors would be other social networks that also use this Nostr protocol. So our goal, if we want to succeed, offering you the best experience and not putting you into the social media craziness, is that we have to make sure that we are offering you what you need. In this case, you're frustrated because you posted something and you didn't get the attention. So this is like these insights, we are using it, and we are studying the behavior of our users. And if you are not getting the attention that you're looking for, we should get some alerts to say, oops, this user, Emily, who created an account 2 weeks ago, she's not coming back. So then we will be able to reach out to you and saying, hey, Emily, maybe, why don't you post a sunset picture? Why? Because the most active users that are getting likes and interest are posting that. So this is like our way of trying to develop the best product. And again, if you don't like it, because everything
I would recommend something else, just to put simple manual to explain again what is expected, or with examples you provided in writing.
But before these examples or before this manual, what I would like to share with you is that if we are not making you happy, because the way that we build our technology allows you to bring all your followers that you built in Satlantis, you can bring them to another of our competitors, because we are so certain that we will offer you the best service. We have to be very updated to offering you this is what you need, this experience. So what I will, and maybe now it's a little bit complex to explain, but imagine if you could bring your followers list from Instagram to Twitter.
No, I need to explain people the benefit of it, and I believe it's what you're doing, because many people, they use to some platforms, they have already some circle of their followers and interests, and even they don't like the algorithm, but algorithm giving them information they are interested in. What are the benefits of Satlantis, which is built on a Nostr, comparing with the known social media platforms?
So first of all, and this is the one that I like the most, and we could spend hours explaining that, is the sovereignty. Satlantis is using a technology that empowers you for the freedom of speech. Everything you post, you, me, everybody listening can verify that you posted it. This is impossible to do in any other social media platform today. You can tell me, no, Jordi, but on Twitter, there's this blue check, and the blue check verifies that this is you. No, the blue check means that somebody paid whichever fee there is to get a blue image that is posted next to my name. And this is just a user interface. It doesn't verify that everything I say, I said. Because any employee on Twitter with a little bit of higher degree of permission in the company can edit any tweet that I posted. And this happens Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, anywhere on the internet. Nostr uses a technology that is called the public and private key. Everything you post on Nostr, that doesn't matter if you're using Satlantis or not. Now I'm talking about the whole ecosystem of apps in Nostr. Everything you post needs to be signed. When you post something on the internet, what you're doing is you are sending some bits of information to a server that later can be accessed by other tools like apps that can access this server, process it, and replicate it in your phone.